Hi, my name is Fallon Doka. In this presentation, I will be discussing my time spent at the Heard Museum here in Phoenix, Arizona, founded in 1929. This area occupies the Akamo Otham traditional lands. The Heard Museum promises to honor its relationship with the Akamo Otham tribe as well as the other indigenous groups represented here in the museum. The photos and videos provided will be my own. To start, I would like to share the Heard Museum's mission statement. The Heard Museum connects Indigenous creativity to the world by presenting the voice and vision of American Indian artists. The current exhibits are as follows: Home, Native People in the Southwest; Away from Home, American Indian Boarding School Stories; Heart of the Community, baskets from the Basha Family Collection of American Indian Art; Adorned with Memory, jewelry from the Basha Family Collection of American Indian Art; Substance of Stars, majestic figures, contemporary sculptures by Native American artists; Bob Houses, a retrospective view; Harry Fonseca, Transformations; Storyteller, the photography of Jerry Jacka. The exhibit, Home, Native People in the Southwest, separates art by region but also labels each piece by a named tribe. The regions are Rio Grande and Colorado Plateau Homelands, Navajo Nation, Colorado River Land, Sonoran Desert Homeland, Yaqui Homeland, and Central Mountains and High Plateau. Stories of the people who made the art are all different but share similar histories. Even with the change, they still have a common connection to home. The exhibit displays the art of those people and gives visitors an insight into their culture. The map shows how much of their homelands have changed over the years, which also affected the art itself, as I will demonstrate here in a moment. What you can expect to see from the home exhibit is seeing woven textiles, basketry, jewelry, paintings, carvings, pottery, clothes, and other art from the indigenous communities of the Southwest. To have a better understanding of the history, an interactive map and timeline are provided on an electronic screen in designated areas, as well as highlighted objects and their descriptions and a scrapbook that shares stories of people from the area. In the plateau portion of the home exhibit, the Hopi tribe has a wall of katsinas on display. They are sometimes referred to as kachinas, but as Hopis provided a pronunciation of the name, as the CH sound is not part of their dialect. The dolls depict their deities and are gifted to the young Hopi girls. They're a gift for health, growth, and fertility. The exhibit quotes from a Hopi, Ruby Chimichara. Songs of the Katsina sing in Hopi tell us how we should treat each other. They tell us how we should treat the land and how we are going to get blessed if we become the humble people that we should be. Those dolls serve as the physical manifestations of their holy people. In more recent years, they are created more ostentatiously appealing and selling to tourists and collectors. Under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918 and the Bald and Golden Eagle Act of 1940, Dennis Gaffney states that it makes no difference whether these feathers are found in katsinas, old or new. They can't be bought or sold. Selling them with these feathers are against the law. This can help explain why many of the plaques state the katsinas shown in the exhibit are labeled as gifts and why some of them have feather designs carved in rather than using real feathers. In the Central Mountains and High Plateau region of the home exhibit highlights baskets made by the Apache and Yavapai tribes. The two distinct tribes were once imprisoned together on the San Carlos Reservation a little after the reservation era in 1875. Confined to a reservation, they became closer and there were cross influences as seen in their basket making. In 1900, the Yavapai were able to return to their homelands, and the Yavapai Apache Nation was established, as well as other Yavapai tribes, including my own, the Formigdal Yavapai. Another example of art changing with westward expansion of the allotment era is seen in the Apache baskets, where in the 1880s the baskets became largely dramatic jar baskets, and after 1920 they got smaller because the demand from the tourists lessened. Both of these exhibits come from the Basha family collection. The family shows an appreciation for the fine jewelry and baskets. The jewelry shown are from differing artists and their tribes. The silversmith work is detailed, and the use of turquoise and coral show a beauty of the natural stones. The baskets depicted on the right are from the Akama O'odham and Western Apache and Yavapai tribes. While it's common to weave animals into the basket designs, why wear camels and ostriches part of the design when they are not native to the area? The exhibit provides an explanation that the military brought in camels. The Civil War ended that experiment and moved the camels to Arizona. There were some feral camels up until the 1940s. Ostriches, on the other hand, were imported by the Bartlett Herd Land and Cattle Company. These pieces show a period when the Western settlement became more prevalent to the Southwest Indians as early as the 1900s during the allotment era. The Substance of Stars exhibit blends traditional stories with modern art pieces. Artists depict these traditional stories in differing art forms such as weaving, paintings, clothing, carvings, and amongst others. The exhibit also has an immersive photography installation where people can sit and immerse themselves in the areas of the Haudenosaunee, Yupik, Navajo, and O'odham. It depicts the landscape so that people can appreciate the beauty. As visitors walk through the exhibit, they can see modern art pieces that reflect on traditional stories. The woven rugs design represents the lightning and the horned toad, which is part of the Navajo story where the horned toad's armor, or the scales, protect him from the lightning. The oil painting's name translates to green wells, which depicts the creation story of how stars are made in the Tohono O'odham homeland by the Babaquavari mountain range. The exhibit notes that the traditional O'odham land stretched from Phoenix, Arizona to Sonora, Mexico. Instead of two separate countries, to the O'odham people, it is simply home. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo ended the Mexican-American War in 1848, and the U.S. acquired the land that is now Arizona. Under Article 6 of the treaty, the land occupied by the savage tribes who will hereafter be under the exclusive control of the government of the U.S. Seeing traditional oral stories represented in modern art shows that these stories are still being told to the next generation. These are three of the more contemporary installations offered at the Heard Museum. Harry Fonseca, Anishinaabe, Portuguese native Hawaiian, uses a character coyote to express queerness in his art. Majestic Figures showcases the work created by Jamie Okuma, a Luiseno and Shoshone Bannock Indian, as well as Rhonda Holy Bear, a Lakota, Joyce Growing Thunder, Juanita Growing Thunder Fogarty, and Jessa Ray Growing Thunder. They are three generations of the Assiniboine and Sioux nations. Bob Houses is a Warm Spring Chiricahua Apache who created art pieces including sculptures, jewelry, and paintings. These art pieces show the artist's social commentaries relating to Indian culture. It was interesting to see to view the rest of the exhibit's art and connecting with it in some way. Jerry Jacka photographed artists making their pieces, and some of those pieces were put on display. On the left, we can see Don Navasi's process in making pottery. This exhibit was important to show the faces of the artists. It reminds the visitors that there are different faces creating the pieces on display, humanizing the art in a way. It also reminds us that each person is different while living similar histories. It is a good reminder to remember the history of federal Indian policy throughout the years. As the Indian art changed and evolved, it reflected back to the policies directed at them at the time. Specifically through the reservation, allotment, assimilation, and reorganization eras as colonists moved westward, coming into more contact with the Southwest tribes. The termination and self-determination eras are interesting to see through the lens of the contemporary artists, as their commentary relates to that era the most. The Archaeological Resource Protection Act of 1979 was enacted to provide adequate protection to prevent the loss and destruction of these archaeological resources and sites resulting from uncontrolled excavations and pillage on public and Indian lands. Professor Helton states that it is difficult to enforce due to remote archaeological locations and secrecy amongst amateur archaeologists. The National Museum of the American Indian of 1989 establishes the Smithsonian's National Museum of the American Indian, which was later opened in 2004. The stated purposes are to advance the study of the Indians and to collect, preserve, and exhibit the Indians' objects. The Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act of 1990 requires the return of remains, funerary objects, sacred objects, and objects of cultural significance to the descendants, tribes, and organizations. According to ProPublica database, the Heard Museum has at least 13 remains left, but also has returned 48. The Indian Arts and Crafts Act of 1990 prohibits the sale of misrepresented Indian arts and crafts. The Heard Museum has a gift shop on the premises that sells Indian jewelry, pottery, carvings, and textiles that are marketed as Indian-made. Under the Arts and Crafts Act, the Heard Museum cannot sell or display the art as Indian-made if it were not made by a member of a federally recognized tribe or by a certified Indian artisan. This makes transparency key in ensuring that the art they do sell is Indian-made. The question being asked is, does the Heard Museum authentically reflect Native American culture and religious practices? I believe it does. By using real quotes from the artists, it allows them to use their own voices to articulate meaning or practicality behind their pieces. Also, having a whole exhibit dedicated to the boarding schools help provide non-practitioners to understand how federal regulations and policies shaped Indian culture. It shows the resiliency of the indigenous people. Even though it focuses on one point in time, it also gives visitors an idea of what lengths the federal government tried to subdue Native culture. But overall, the museum celebrates indigenous artists and their art, allowing others to appreciate it in a public and informative setting.